I remember being a beginner photographer and I didn't have a lot of tools at my disposal. I had a crop sensor Canon camera and one lens. At the time it was an 18 to 135 APS-C crop sensor lens. I love that thing. I since lent it to somebody and never did get it back, but regardless, I don't have that lens anymore. But I just remember the days when I just shot with what I had, and that's how I got my start, and it worked out pretty darn well. So I just want to get on here and say you don't need the latest equipment and you don't need to spend the biggest dollars to get really cool pictures. So tonight I'm kind of testing that for myself. I have an old Canon 50 millimeter lens on this thing. This is the 50 1.8, so it's one of the cheapest lens Canon makes. It is not a great lens. And if you only have that lens or a lens like it and you still want to get out and shoot, get out and shoot. There's still things you can do with it. Obviously, if you're shooting with a fixed lens like that and you want to zoom in and out, you got to move your legs. You got to walk in or walk away from what you want to shoot. But I'm walking over to this place just where I can see a bit of a sunset, and I just want to experiment and just kind of take you along with me and show you how we can get still a pretty cool picture using a really, really cheap, small lens. And I think what I want to show here is that we can do like how to stitch together a landscape and make a really cool shot with one lens and turn it into something kind of special. So let's see if it works, but let's give it a shot. Here's the sunset. Here's the sunset we're going to be working with. So it may not be the coolest sunset ever, but it's going to prove the point for tonight. So let's see how this works. Just for fun, since we do have a 1.8, let's do that. Let's stop all the way down to 1.8 here and then adjust our shutter speed as necessary here. So we'd shoot at 1600. Oh, here, back to 1.8. It's changing. So we'd shoot at 2500-ish, 2000, 2000th of a second shutter speed. And what I'm going to do here is just, we need, for making a panoramic, I want to use something as my kind of my center point so I can overlap. So what I might do is use this tree right here, and so just kind of position this tree on the right side of the frame. Focus in like so. And then let's take a picture. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put that tree roughly the same position on the left side. I'm going to use my guidelines there. There we go. You can see the trees on the left side now. Focus and take a shot. Typically I would do this on a tripod, but let's say that we're on a hiking adventure and didn't want to carry a lot of extra weight, so we have our lightest lens and we still want to get somewhat of a cool shot. So I made a total rookie mistake last time, and my autofocus on this lens was not on. It was on manual focus instead of autofocus, and I just didn't notice it being on live view and trying to record at the same time. So here we're going to do this again. So we're going to line up our focus with this tree here on the right side of the screen. I'm going to lock in my focus along with my guideline there, make sure my guideline is just right sitting on top of that tree, and I might go down to 400 just to get that sky a little bit better. So then I'll take a shot here and then do the same thing where I put the tree over on the other side of the screen. I'm going to move my focus point so we use that tree as the focus point of this image. There it is. And focus in and take our shot there. So then we've got this shot, and this shot to see if we can blend into one panoramic image. I should also say that typically I wouldn't shoot a long depth of field like this, a big landscape with f1.8, but since I had that 50mm 1.8 on, might as well use it and just see what happens. Plus, when we're shooting handheld at 1.8, that means we can really jack up that shutter speed to 2,000, 2,500, and get a much crisper shot and limit any effects of camera movement otherwise. Typically, I'd shoot a deep landscape like this at f8, f11, something like that on a tripod, and then shutter speed isn't quite so important. But in this case, we're just having fun with it and see what we get. Okay, let's edit these photos. So I'm just going to take you through the entire thing live. I'm not going to pre-do this. We're just going to go and do it together. Here you're looking at the Valley of Fire. This is a photo that I was working on right before I started recording, but we'll get to that later. So for now, I plugged in my memory card into the computer, and I'm going to access it here. And here we're going to see the photos that we took a little bit earlier. Lightroom populates those, and then we select which ones we would like to import. And you can also see that I didn't clear off my card last time. So I'm going to deselect everything here, and I'm just going to select the ones from yesterday, like so. And I'm just going to save those. What I should have done is save those to its own folder, but that's okay. It's going into a folder I used on February 15th of this year. Kind of a cool moonrise I was experimenting with, and a little sunset, so you get to see what those looked like. But here are the photos that I'm interested in. So I'm going to come on down here to the single view and scroll to the end here. And the last two photos should be the ones that we want to work with. Yeah, it was these two. So again, these aren't like, I'm not going to say this is like a world-class photograph by any means, but this is going to serve to show how we can stitch these two together. So let's see if this works. So if we take this photo and this photo that we wanted to stitch together, I'm going to push Shift and select so we have both of them selected here. And then I'm going to right click and I'm going to do Photo Merge and Panorama Merge. And Lightroom should do this on its own. There it is. You can see it did a really nice job here. So one of the things that we can do here is automatically fill edges and do an auto crop, so we get rid of this, the parts of the photograph that don't have any photograph on them, no information here. So we can fill edges, and then Lightroom will just go ahead and fill those in. And then we can do an auto crop as well, which we may not need to do. No, we won't do the auto crop anymore now that we filled the edges, which is absolutely fine. So I'm just going to go ahead and click merge here. And then Lightroom's just going to merge those together for us and create an all new file that we can edit. And then we go ahead and select that file. And here we have an image that, with a 50mm lens, we can't get that wide of an angle, obviously, but just to see how easy it is to create a panoramic wide angle, even when you have a lens that isn't capable of such a wide angle. Worked out pretty well. And then from here, we can go and choose our color profile. This is the first step that I do now, and I just created a video on color profile, so you can check that out. But I'm going to go ahead and go down and hit the adaptive color profile. I've really been liking that. Yeah, look what that did. So that looks more like reality did. So I'm going to hit adaptive color, but it doesn't like when auto settings are applied. In this case, I think it works okay. So I'm going to go ahead and stick with that. White balance, what we could do is click this little white balance dropper here and click on an item that's supposed to be white in the photo. And this is supposed to be white, so I could click that and it'll update our white balance for us. And again, I think that looks pretty good. It might be a little too warm for my liking. We could cool that off just a little bit, but you get the idea. So kind of get that vibrant, moody sky up above. We get a nice warm color. We have a panoramic image, and it worked. It worked pretty well. Not bad for a 50mm lens, We could always go in and further refine and mask this if we wanted to. We could apply a sky mask. We need to be very careful when applying a sky mask, though, because we have all of these palm trees with super fine details, and a lot of times the sky mask doesn't get there, and then we get halos around our trees. And there is a way that we can work to avoid that, and here's another video if you want to check out how to avoid halos, but I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time in this video dealing with that. If I did want to apply a sky mask, we could, and just see how it looks. It did okay, but it like just to show you, if I drop down the exposure here, you can see where it was missed. And there are ways to fix that. We can go in with the brush and we can fix that, or there are some tricks that we can do with our masking. But I don't know. For this purpose, I don't think I want to do that. If you want to check out the video on how to get rid of halos, then please go ahead and click and do that. I'll include it at the end of the video also. But there we go. There we go. Creating a panoramic with a 50 millimeter with a 50 millimeter lens is super simple. For the purposes today, I just wanted to show you just that you're not limited. If you have a 50 millimeter lens, or whatever lens you have, 18 to 135 or a kit lens or whatever came with your camera, you are not limited. There are so many things that you can do. One more thing I'll mention is that you can come down here and enable lens corrections, and a lot of times that will you can see what it does. So the 50 millimeter lens, and especially like the 18 to 135, the APS-C lenses, or the crop sensor lenses, they tend to have a lot of silhouetting around the edges. So we hit the enable lens corrections, and you can see that it fixed that, but maybe a little bit too much. So we could either disable lens corrections or enable it, and then go in and just add a little bit of vignetting to kind of counteract that. It just depends on what you like and what suits your desires and what looks good to you. So there we go. Please let me know if you have any questions. Just don't ever feel limited because you have equipment that isn't necessarily top of the line. There's so much you can do and so many amazing photos you can create. Just use the equipment that you have and you're going to be just fine. There's so many great images out there for you to create, and the best camera in the world is the one that you have with you. So go out there, create, have fun, explore, and learn. Never stop learning.